So, Production Diary 2. So since the last vlog and since before the last vlog, we've been doing a lot of pre-production. Which has had its ups and downs, which always happens. Even more so with an independent film such as this. I actually did a lot of planning for this movie, more than I have done for, I feel like, any other movie that I've worked on before. This is the first movie where I have basically broken down every single shot in my head and tried to visualize it beforehand, months ago. And that sounds like something that you should usually do on every single movie, which most people do, some people don't. I'm one of those guys that oftentimes I don't, simply because I don't have a lot of information beforehand. Like a lot of the movies that I've done previously, I wouldn't usually storyboard a lot of the movie. For example, like in Chua, I would storyboard very key specific scenes or have a specific image. Or if there's a scene, let's say in Showdown, I storyboarded like a good chunk of the first few days of the movie so that I could see how everyone creates that vision, and then I can just go on from there. Why I didn't storyboard the rest of it is actually because, like I said before, usually sometimes I don't have all the information beforehand. So I could storyboard that first few days because I knew exactly what the location was, exactly what the lighting situation was, exactly what equipment we had, and I knew exactly what the choreography was. With the scenes that followed after that, and the other dance sequences after that, I didn't have as much information. With this one though, I have gone over the top with preparing because there is a certain visual style to it that I'm trying to express, which I don't think I've really done to this extent before. The other reason why I wanted to plan every single scene and every single shot was when I finally started getting people together for the movie. That's when I realized, as I was breaking down scene by scene, like, holy shit, I'm in every single scene in this movie. I knew when I was writing it that I was the main character in it because that's how I wrote it. I don't know why it didn't occur to me whilst I was writing it that I was in every single scene. And that freaked me out. Not so much the acting. The acting is freaking me out because I haven't acted in a while. But the part that freaked me out more was, if I'm in every single scene, what, am I just gonna run back and forth between the camera and myself and try and explain everything? So I wanted to plan out every single shot so that when I get on set, there's less time spent faffing about trying to figure out the image. So that's a big part of why I've broken down every single scene, every single shot. There's also very specific shots that I have in mind. It'll make sense when you actually see the whole movie, or it'll just seem like a lot of faffing about. So yeah, pre-pro, what do? Apart from me planning all these different things together, other things we went through, we did a bunch of camera tests with my DP, Tech Z. Very basic camera tests with the Fujifilm X-H1, mainly because he's not very familiar with the camera, but we also wanted to see what the black and white image was like, how much of the detail does it hold, whether the image quality would be good enough for cinema, things like that. So it was very basic camera tests, just aiming the camera at me with one LED on one side and one just bouncing off another side, exposed to a light meter just to see what happens, and then exposing with a singular light source, and then trying out with a strong backlight and trying things out outdoors. So we had a bunch of different stuff to see. We then took that footage over to Samat, my producer's office, because up until this point, because now he's producing, but up until that point he was a film colorist. He handled the online side of post-production, so the coloring, the preparation for DCP, things like that. So we loaded everything up, all this footage up on Scratch to check out how the footage holds up, and thankfully it holds up surprisingly well. There's a lot of room to pull things up. We actually did shoot some footage in F-Log and then converted that to black and white, but the black and white image from in camera was a much smoother image. I don't know, in my eyes it looked a little nicer. What Samad noticed was that something in the processing was handling the shadows and the highlights a certain way, which he liked because it meant less work for online. But yeah, it was good to know that there was a lot of room to pull out shadows if we wanted to. And we shot all that at ISO 800 with a set of Tech Z's Contax Zeiss prime lenses, as well as a set of vintage Nikon lenses. So yeah, what else did we do? I went through a whole bunch of the scheduling and the breakdowns of the scenes with my AD and my trusty assistant, Amelia. Amelia has been my assistant since relationship status. That's when we really first started getting to know each other. And she's been my wing woman ever since. And yeah, we were breaking down a whole bunch of the scheduling breakdowns, trying to figure out what bunches of scenes work best on which days, creating the schedule as well. You know, a lot of that was done on a very cool web app called Studio Binder. Definitely check it out. If anyone wants to find out more about it, just let me know, and maybe I'll do a video just about Studio Binder. We've also been going through a whole bunch of wardrobe for some of the cast with Bunny, my stylist for the movie. Bunny's a cool guy. He's also a fashion designer. He's also been working on art directing and producing with a filmmaking friend of mine, Mien. Also checked out a bunch of locations. Most of the locations I already knew whilst I was writing the script. The office that I used to work in, this house, which I have used in so many productions, both indie and proper, that is ridiculous. But yeah, there was some locations. For some reason, finding a car park was the toughest thing of all, an indoor car park where we could shoot. But one of the cool things about shooting in black and white is you take away the problem of color temperature, and everything is abstract. You know, when black and white is inherently an abstract medium. So shooting day for night or night for day is much less of a problem in black and white, which I'm liking. It helps us figure out the schedule a little bit easier. Gone through some stuff with my art director, Paul Hashem. You know, not for a lot of scenes, but there are some sets in particular that I need to try and create something. Unfortunately, he is not going to be around as much on actual shoot day, because he is working on a big Hollywood movie, which I can't say what, but yeah, which I totally get. Which brings me on to, yeah, one of the problems, well, a couple of the problems that started popping up during pre-production. And it's something that I think anyone doing a no-budget movie like this is bound to, you know, hit at some point. And that is the fact that it is a no-budget movie. I think a part of me, even though I'm the one bankrolling it, a part of me forgot about that for a while, because I was enjoying the idea of making this movie so much, and I hadn't done something like this in a while, that a part of me wasn't really thinking in terms of no-budget filmmaking. And one of the things about no-budget filmmaking is favors. I mean, even if you're paying, you know, you can only afford to pay so much. Now, the problem with that, on any no-budget movie, whether you're paying this small token fee or asking for favors, is that you are asking. You know, even with the token fee, you are asking for help. Because every single one of the persons on this project can easily earn the same amount they're getting for the entire shoot in like a day. You know, so when other jobs pop up, they're gonna have to go on other jobs. You know, a lot of these things I discovered around the same week with some people on the team. And, you know, at first it was a bit of a shock, but it was a needed shock. You know, I had to be reminded of that, because with something like this, you are asking a favor. So when you're asking a favor and a better opportunity comes along for them and for their career and for their life, and they have to do something else instead, you gotta let them. You're the one putting everything on the line as the filmmaker and the guy leading this movie. Everyone else, they all have their own issues and their own things as well. You know, people gotta eat, people gotta fill their rice bowl, people gotta pump up their CV. So a whole bunch of people, for a variety of reasons, either couldn't join the project or will only be there on certain days. Like I said, it shocked me, it took me by surprise at first, but after a week it really sank in, like I was not thinking the right way. This movie is something that I have to do. Everyone else has things that they have to do. So I totally get it. And yeah, the thing is we managed to figure out a way out of a couple of those problems, managed to hire a bunch of different people, reschedule a bunch of things around. So we're back on track. In terms of shoot days, we've actually only scheduled 6 days so far out of a possible 10, which is small and tight. It's gonna be interesting. But as I look at the schedule more and more, I get it. I'm like, this is feasible. If we don't faff about too much, everything that I'm thinking about is technically feasible. So, fingers crossed. We also rehearsed with a bunch of the actors. When I rehearse for stuff like this, I don't go through entire scenes, like trying to get that scene right. It's more going through the scenes to see where the actor's head is in terms of the character. You know, as opposed to asking them, what do you think about this character? It really does help me if I just say, okay, let's just do a read through of the scene and, you know, play the character as you think they should be played. So then as we go through the scene, I'll make a few notes, what I think, where the character should go, which bits that I like, which bits that I don't like, and then we do the scene again until I see a version of the character that I'm like, yeah, that's what I think is working. And then I'll try another scene, you know, something different so I can see a different side of the character. And then once I'm confident with that, that's the end of rehearsal. So it's not really rehearsal, it's more like character work. So yeah, that's about it for pre-production so far. We still got a bunch of stuff to do. I still have hard drives and SD cards and equipment checks and prop checks and figure out how to schedule the rest of the days, a whole bunch of stuff that still needs doing. But yeah, until the next video, that's what we've done so far. And for those of you that did ask questions, both on the comment section of the last video and on Instagram, haven't forgotten about you. I'm gonna do videos for those questions separately. So yeah, tune into the next video and you'll see your question answered, because I think they were both very interesting questions. So in about 12 plus 6, in about 18 hours is going to be our first proper production meeting with all the HODs. Well, those that can turn up anyway. Should be interesting.